What is going on, my salty home gymmers? Today we are going to be reviewing the M2B Brute from Evolpow, specifically the expansion edition with the storage capabilities that we'll get into later, and included is the lever arms, which is also an available option. All these options total combined for a $1,500 package from Evolpow on the Evolpow site, which is gonna make this our first contender in the budget all-in-one Smith machine home gym tournament. Specific price range $1,000 to $1,500. When I start making comparison videos for this video series, I will get into all the rules of this tournament then, so stick around. Don't forget to subscribe. Comparison video coming out here soon with the next contestant in this series, which will be announced next week. If you're just joining me for the review, welcome. Let's get into it first with my review of the assembly. Firstly, all my boxes came in great. No complaints there. I didn't have any boxes that came in tore up. Everything came in great. And everything was boxed great. There's a lot of parts here to be boxed. Now, as far as assembly goes, like I said, there's a lot of parts here. I've assembled a lot of racks like this at this point. I would say the assembly on this one is about medium difficulty. There was some areas that gave me a little trouble, but nothing I'd say I wouldn't be able to figure out even if I was a beginner assembling this rack. Certain parts on this rack, I will say, are very easy to put on backwards, and if you do that and continue forward, it is a long road back to disassemble and fix those. One of these parts I'll point out is the rear posts on this rack. The Smith machine, I'd say, is probably the worst of the items you have to put together. It is a very unique design as far as how it comes together. There's really no good way to go about it. I think this was one of those things you're just gonna have to give it a little elbow grease to put it into place. Everything else, zero elbow grease needed. Everything seemed to fall into place and fit where it needed to fit. Like I said, not an extremely difficult rack to put together, but not the easiest either. About medium difficult. I still have full confidence that someone that's never assembled anything before will be able to assemble this rack probably by themselves. This is one of those videos where we have a lot to get to. So the specs portion of this video, I'm just gonna put it here on the screen, take a good look, pause it here. Now, before I get into some of the more functional features of this machine, some of the moving parts, I did say we got the expansion edition of this machine, which comes with all of our storage features, and I'm gonna go into them. Great stuff. I love this board. It comes with more hooks than I will ever need. I know these hooks are easy to get, but sometimes storage machines, they come with these style boards. They give you like 4 hooks and expect it to be enough, and I really appreciate the extra hooks for all the stuff I'm gonna get later down the road. The board itself is nice and rock solid. Getting off topic here, I also appreciate the banner up here that's also not a thin sheet of metal. This guy's got some thickness to it, so don't think that's plastic or anything. And then down here in the middle, you have a little tray. Currently, I'm using it for my Bluetooth speaker, my little kettlebell, and my 2 J hooks for the machine. These type of items are generally what you're gonna place there. I will say one thing I did notice with the storage shelf there is if you look in the back, if you have this storage rack, it essentially makes the middle plate horns practically unusable. Unless you want to put like some steel 5s or something that can fit underneath of it. I suppose you could use it that way, but it definitely gets in the way of that storage space in the back. So a little bit of oversight there, but I honestly think I'd still take the tray because, as I say in all my videos, I don't like my plate storage in the back. However, with these plate loaded cables on the side, there's a lot of machines like that out there, just like this one. It's in fact the theme of our tournament. All your plate storage is going to be in the back, and that's just because simply there's no room with that plate loaded function there to store your plates on the side and still use the cable. And speaking of the plate storage in the back, there are 6 of them. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about them. Pretty standard stuff here, about what you'd expect from a rack like this. You still get these plate horns even if you don't get the expansion edition. The only thing the expansion edition gets you is the pegboard here for your rack attachments and the shelf here for whatever else you can come up with. And also, one last area of storage that I really appreciated, standard or expansion edition, is your storage for dip bars and your front rack spotters. Let me tell you something, this feature, automatically, it was my favorite feature of this rack. I can't believe it's taken someone this long to come up with a place to put your spotter arms and your dip bars, because I've had racks that cost 3 times as much as this one that give me dip bars, that give me spotters, and don't give me a place that I can put them. And they work really well too. It's just a simple concept, just little holes in the side that I can put these guys on and keep them there temporarily. Round of applause for Evolpow for solving such a simple dilemma. And that's all your storage capabilities. As you can see here, I have so much just on the back of this rack, and it looks nice, it looks organized, and I love organization in my gym. The other thing that I give an A+ to this rack for, which is capabilities. I'm not gonna say every single feature of this rack is absolutely flawless, but a ton of features it does come with, such as my lever arms. I'll stop here and I'll say I really appreciate when companies make their own attachments for the racks that they sell. I'm a home gymmer. Give me all the rack attachments that I could possibly think of so I can keep my workout in that closed space. With that being said, are these the greatest top of the line lever arms you're ever gonna find out there? No, but they're a great addition to a package that costs, as we said, $1,500 and under. They're absolutely completely usable and completely functional. They're great for those rows, presses, deadlifts, shrugs, anything you can possibly come up with. Lever arms are one of those things you can just come up with so much to do with them, and these guys are no different. One thing I did appreciate is they adjust outward as well as in, as well as adjust up and down. Being able to adjust out as well as in is actually kind of a luxury in the lever arm game. Like I said, these aren't the most top of the line lever arms you're ever gonna have. But as I said before, what I'm about in this review is functionality and capability. Moving on to the cable. Your cable coaster here has 11 points of adjustment on both sides. They are both their own separate component. Each cable on both sides is attached to their own individual mechanisms and plate horns. What I'm trying to say here is they don't diverge in the middle, in the back, like a lot of your super budget machines. They operate separately and allows me to get a ton more weight on this guy. The cable's very smooth. We got some nylon pulleys here. Zero issues with this cable. I will say, once you get it out of the box, this is definitely gonna be one of those machines that you gotta put a little lubricant on there. What I use to lube pretty much everything in my gym is treadmill lubricant. I don't like to use WD-40 or things like that unless they're actually meant for silicone, but I'll leave a link in the description to the one I use. This one works great with this machine. But anyways, like I said before, definitely a machine. When I got it out, it's a little grindy until you get it lubed up, but once it lubes up, my cable worked great. Order that stuff when you get this. I think it's like $10, it can't be much more than that. Nothing I can't stand more than a choppy cable, and we have talked about some choppy cables on this channel before. This isn't one of them. So this cable also operates on a 2-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1 ratio means you're gonna feel about half the weight you put on this cable. This is a hard 2-to-1 ratio, if that makes sense. It does take a good amount of weight on these guys for you to start feeling the full effects of it. Now, on to the Smith machine. As much of a pain as it was to put together, it works pretty well. Extremely smooth. Like I said, lubricant is your friend when you assemble this machine. Some good knurling on there. This design kind of has like a steel tube and a steel barbell type rod that goes through the center of it. Like I said, it is a weird design, but also makes for pretty good bar for a Smith machine. As far as longevity goes, I don't picture this bar bending up on you anytime soon, which is really important in your Smith machine, which I talk about this all the time. When you have a Smith machine, you want a bar that's not gonna bend on you. If that bar bends, there's no replacing it. Don't think you're gonna have any problems with durability and longevity. As far as stability goes, I won't say it's like the just absolute stiffest Smith machine. There is just a little bit of travel in both sides, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It does leave room for you to stabilize that bar a little bit with your own muscles. Not a bad deal there, and not a bad Smith opinion on it. All right, like I said, we're doing things a little bit backwards today. So the next thing I'm gonna talk about is your front rack. Your front posts are 2x2, and they are made of what appears to be 14 gauge steel, which is about where you want to start with a rack. They come with 13 points of adjustment. I mean, this is a pretty basic squat rack. You can do just about whatever you need to on this front rack. They come with a great coating. I'd highly recommend getting the red over the black, because what I see out of a lot of the brighter color coatings is they come with a better coating than the racks typically do when they come in black. A lot of times when I order a rack that comes in black, it's usually that painted flat black that we talked about earlier, which tends to chip up a little bit more over time. I much prefer this coating, so I'd highly recommend the red coating on that. My rack is pretty stable. There's not a ton of wobble in this guy, so I am pretty satisfied with the front rack. And like I said, I do have my front post attachments back here. There's great storage for them. It's that easy to switch them off and on. What you have here in the front of each leg is your landmine attachment for all those landmine exercises that you can come up with. Another great feature, and all this versatility is just awesome in this package. You also have your foot plate here for those rows. These two things are becoming very standard on these racks. And also you have your pull-up bar, which again is becoming more standard. I do like these grips. I do like how this is laid out. Some good knurling on all of these handles. Lots of options for pull-ups. And I prefer my pull-up bars to be that way. I want to be able to change grips and do my pull-ups just 1,000 different ways. Tons of different positions you can get your hands in for those pull-ups. Now, to conclude this video, I've found myself saying the word standard quite a bit here. And that's just about what I think of every component of this machine. Is just very standard. I think where this machine really shines is it can do just so much, and that's really awesome. Now, I would highly recommend the package that we did here, which is the expansion package with the storage options and of course your lever arms. I know lever arms are the new fad of the home gym industry, but they are that for good reason. Because they just open up a lot of stuff and a lot of space for equipment you no longer need. This package here has to just come with the absolute most features, and all of them pretty much generally do the job that they're supposed to do. There's a little minute things here and there that we touched on that I wasn't a huge fan of, but at the end of the day, like I said, it really doesn't matter because you're just getting so much. So slot 1 is full. Machine here will be compared to the next contender in a comparison video after we review the next contender. And the next contender will be announced next week, so stick around for that. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. We are gonna just be comparing so many of these racks against each other, and I'm gonna give you my most brutally honest opinions and comparisons all of them. Thank you for joining me. Stay active, stay grinding. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will be sure to answer them. And don't forget to subscribe.